See what a Raymond James advisor can do for you.
Thinking of flying south for the winter? There's a few things you should know first. With us now is Gerry Scott, a portfolio manager with a focus on working with snowbirds. Gerry, welcome to The Wealthy Life.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm curious to know, how did you get started in dealing with cross-border issues?
Well, like a lot of Canadians, the winters are tough up here in the north. Down in the south, it's a lot easier with the sunnier weather, and we've been doing this since 1981.
You mean you'd rather lay on a beach than shovel snow?
Yes. Yes.
Me too.
Yes.
So you started traveling a little bit more yourself and then started working with people
Correct.
who travel.
Correct.
What are things that Canadians need to know before snowbirding?
Well, once you're down there, you want to be down there forever, and
Yes.
that's not the case. There are limitations on two issues down there. One is immigration and one is a tax issue.
Well, nobody likes tax issues. Immigration and tax, that sounds nasty.
Well, tax is the one that's kind of hidden. People
Yes.
don't know what the rules are, and when asked, they don't get it. They don't understand it.
So you mean to tell me a Canadian goes down to the U.S. and they might be faced with taxation issues?
Correct. When you ask a question, how much time Canadians spend in the States, they say 180 days, six months less a day, but that's far from the truth. That is an immigration issue. You can be down there for 180 days, but you cannot be down there from a tax point of view. The IRS has found a way to go after non-voting taxpayers.
Wow. So people need to be really careful, because if they overstay in the U.S., the U.S. government may start charging them taxes.
Correct. And it's less than you think. I mean, as we were discussing before, there's a 3-year rule. Every day that you spend in 2016, you actually count 1/6 of the days. Every day in 2017, you count 1/3 of the days. Every day for 2018, you count a full day. So it actually works out to be about 120 days exactly.
That's crazy. Like, how do people keep track of that math?
Well, we have ideas for them. But really, I mean, it is alarming the amount of Canadians that are not aware of the time spent in the States. And we know the cost to undo these things.
So how does this get tracked? How does the IRS track the number of days that Canadians spend down there?
Well, it's really up to you. It's up
Okay.
to you. You have the responsibility to keep track of those days. And if you do exceed that formula that was just explained, if it exceeds 183 days, you're required to fill out an 8840 with the IRS.
Okay, so there's a form you can fill out with the IRS.
There's a form to be filed with the
Okay.
IRS.
And what does that do if you fill out that form?
What that does is that it proves that you have closer ties to Canadian soil than you do U.S. soil, which basically gives you the to be compliant when
So
it comes from a tax point of view.
Essentially,
in
it tells the IRS to back off
the United States. For a short term,
a little bit.
based on today's rules.
Okay, so aside from making sure you don't overstay your welcome in the U.S. and get into tax trouble, what are some of the other issues facing Canadians wanting to snowbird?
Well, the biggest thing is snowbirds have always been an older demographic. So the issue we have is obviously health.
Oh my
Health
goodness,
insurance. Yes. And there's a lot of programs out there, there's a lot of insurance companies out there that will actually insure you that if you are in the States and if you were to become ill or something else terribly happens, you're covered.
Well, you don't want to get stuck without insurance, because you're going to be in big trouble.
Not in the States. It will wear away your capital.
Yes, no kidding. All that life savings that you built up.
Gone.
A friend of mine's son came with us to California and needed some stitches in his lip. The bill back to the medical plan was $5,000 for a few stitches.
Next time, do it yourself.
Yes, maybe. May have been a butcher job.
Yes.
What are some of the other things? How about currency?
Well, currency is a big thing, as a lot of Canadians are aware. If you were born in the early 60s, you've only seen the Canadian dollar at par 3 times. So in most cases, you're paying a premium for those Canadian dollars. And we saw the last 24 months, we saw the Canadian dollar fluctuate anywhere from 121 all the way up to 146. That's a big spread. That's expensive.
It is. So what you're going to spend your money on in the U.S. may cost you 20% more than you thought if you haven't planned for it, if you don't have those dollars already converted. Should people convert when they go? Should they leave money in U.S. dollars ahead of time?
You know, that's really a speculation question. We never know where the Canadian dollar is going. As much as we read about it, and as much as we're involved in it, I always believe that the Canadian dollar in today's world, if it trades between 127 and 132, we seem to be okay. But when it starts to get into that 135 to 141 range, it's tough. And if it goes too far, you know how RSP accounts are affected with U.S. holdings if the Canadian dollar goes down. So be careful what you wish for. It's always nice to have that very tight range, and that's where we feel comfortable.
So from a planning perspective, it's probably a good idea to hedge your bets a little bit. Keep some in U.S. dollars, but then maybe just convert along the way. Where should you convert your money? You
know, there's a lot of tricks. When we talk about currency, it's not just about converting money. You look at what the these credit cards and what the fees are being charged. Most Canadians have Canadian credit cards. They go in the States. They're paying premiums for that. It could be anywhere from 3 to 4% premiums. And then when you go to convert those Canadian dollars into US dollars to pay for that credit card bill, it's expensive as well too. So I would always encourage people to have a US account with their bank and just pick away at it. I mean, if the Canadian dollar does get into that, when we said 127, 128 to 132, 135, if it falls below, get in the habit of buying US dollars and not just do your banks. There's other options out there. There's money traders all across the country. It's becoming a very, very aggressive service out there for Canadian snowbirds. So do your research. There's competitive rates available. Yeah. You have talked about so many things that I think the average Canadian hasn't considered. Number of days that you need to be there, how to get the best currency rate, make sure that you've got ample health care coverage. I hear that you've designed an app to help people with that. What is the app called? The app is called the Canadian Snowbird US Day Counter. And it does allow Canadians to be very compliant when it comes to tracking their days. It gets them thinking more about it because it's not a GPS app that's going to do it automatically for them. It gives them the chance to really just plug in the numbers and get familiar with it. And there's so much to be learned off that app. We have relationships with immigration lawyers, U.S. accountants, U.S. realtors. I mean, the question came up. This is like a pot of gold. So for our viewers out there, obviously we can't cover it all in one session. So if you want more information and a free version of the app, contact us at thewealthylife.com. Gerry, thank you so much for being on the show today. Thank you. I really enjoyed it. Thank you. And when we return, discover the pros and cons of dollar cost averaging.